I'm amazed that we are whole and broken in different times of our lives. So we're whole in some times of our lives and we're broken in other times in our life. When I was 3 years old, there is an incident I can barely remember, but we were at my grandpa's farm and I got harmed. I wandered away with, an older person to a barn and I got harmed. And that hit me with a sense of unworthiness and shame that piped back up in different areas of my life. I was raised Catholic, and there was a really strong sense of a spiritual religious community, and there were a lot of really great, wonderful men and women, priests and nuns, that had a very definite positive impact on my life growing up. And I remember being very in love with God as a kid, and just filled with hope of a future, and filled with the presence of God. I had a little, what's it called, cartoon Bible, or comic book Bible, and I remember reading it as an 8 or 9 year old and just crying and crying and crying, being overwhelmed with the love of God, and that was really neat. I was really filled during that time with this knowledge that I'm going to go serve God and that my life has a purpose with God in it. I had made a lot of deals with God as a kid. If you get me out of this, or if you get me out of that, or if you help me find this, I'll serve you my whole life. And I said, God, if you get me out of this and you help me find my glasses, then I'll be a nun for the rest of my life. And then of course I'd find my glasses and I'd be like, oh, okay, I guess I'm going to be a nun now for the rest of it. A little 8 or 9 year old kid. And I would fill out these little postcards for nunneries or for convents of like, do you want to go to school at a convent and become a nun? And I'd fill out the little postcards, my 9-year-old self, and I'd slip it in my mom's purse without stamps. And she said, you can serve God in a lot of different ways. You don't have to be a nun, and I was like, no, I do have to be a nun. I do, and it was interesting, that play. When I was 11, when I was 11 and 12, my friends were getting into a lot of trouble, and I started to separate myself away from those friends. I had a friend who was 12, and she became pregnant. She had been molested as a kid, and she kept finding these troublesome 20-year-old sleazy guys, and became pregnant and went through the pregnancy. And that was, there was a lot of questioning of God in that time of my life, because I looked at it and I was like, wow, we're here, we're sitting in her room, it's a princess bed, there's My Little Ponies all around, and she's 9 months pregnant and saying, it's gonna hurt, I'm really scared, I don't know what they're gonna do with me and my baby, I'm really scared. And not knowing how to pray with her, not knowing what was gonna happen to her. And in fact, her parents signed adoption papers and gave away her baby. And that had a strong impact on me in seeing how she was harmed and what happened to her, and kind of rebelling from that. And her family went to church, and yet it was members of her family that were harming her during that time. So it was a really confusing time for me as a kid. And I think about age 11, 12, 13, with that confusion of how could this happen in God's world? She had a really hard time after her baby was given away. She tried to commit suicide a couple times, and my faith just started to get kind of chipped away. And it was a feeling of disappointment with God that how could these things happen in his world? If he's so all-powerful and wonderful, why do these really sad things? Like, why did my friend get pregnant, try and kill herself? Other young kids died, during those early teenage years. So having those hard questions go unanswered, and I left them unanswered. And I left the church, and around age 15 or 16, I started playing around with a lot of stuff. Like, I drew a line in the sand, and I said, look, I'm not gonna get involved with boys, because then you get, like my poor 12-year-old friend, and so I'm not going to do that. But I'm not going to drink, and I'm not going to do any drugs like these other kids are doing in our small town. But I will play around with Ouija boards and tarot cards and pendulums and, and make little spells in little jars. And so I started meditating with this couple from Oregon. And she did yoga, he did kung fu, and more quiet sitting meditation, a little bit of Christian philosophy. And she did more Vipassana style Buddhism. I studied with them day and night, and I was trying to find serenity. I was trying to find this balance in my life, and instead I threw my life completely out of balance. And my meditations always came with crying and sometimes, like just screaming, feeling very sad again, and feeling the victim, and just feeling out the heart of unknown pain inside of me. And so I was sitting down meditating at night, and all of a sudden, I'm crying, and I feel very unworthy, and I see these demons surrounding me, and my eyes are closed, and I see these demons circling me and surrounding me, and I went, oh God, help, God. And this big lotus flower comes flying in, and there's a monkey on it, and the monkey's dressed up like a human. And I went, hello? And the monkey went, I'm here to save you. And I said, I'm Christian, I think. And which was amazing of me to say. And he was like, okay, bye. And after that, the demons went away, and I got up out of that meditation going, wait a minute, am I Christian or am I Buddhist? Or that was a Hindu god. Oh, weird. So that's the point of my confusion at that time. I knew that something was still missing, but I always thought it was maybe just the right relationship was missing. And if I could just find that right relationship, then I would have the family that I've always wanted, and I would feel all better. And so that was going to be my new God. And in 2005, I came to Austin, and I found that next relationship. And then in 2009, what happened was I was walking with a stroller with my baby girl. I remember I was just crying and crying and crying. And from an outside perspective, I had this incredible life, and I was going to school, and I was about to graduate, and I had this beautiful baby, and this lovely toddler, and an incredible array of stepkids that I loved like my own kids, and I had this incredible life in one way, and yet I was so full on a daily basis of dread, of fear, of pain. I was so full of that, and hope had died at that point. I remember looking up at this beautiful, cloudy, cool sky. It was very cool and breezy. It had just rained, and I'm crying, and I said, God, I'm done. I've tried everything else, and I've tried making the spells and doing the chants, and I've burned the incense, and I've burned to this God and that God, and I've burned the sage, and I've smudged my house, and it's not working. And my life is still out of control, and it's unmanageable right now. And my interior state is definitely unmanageable. My soul is hurt, and it's not getting any better on its own. I've done everything. It's not this religion, that religion, this religion, that religion. It's not more sitting, it's not more yoga, and it's not more diets, and it's not more clothes, and it's not more cars, and it's not more this. And I've tried everything, and it's not working, and I need your help. I'm down to my last God, and it's you. And like, what an offer, right? But it's like, God, I promise to give my whole life to you, to only you, and not to anybody else now. It's not to this God or that God. I'm going to forget about all those other gods, and I'm just going to focus on you. And I'm asking you to help me make my life better. And it was like that prayer was made, and I had a sense inside of peace. And it was like coming home. And that coming home happened because of a nurturing environment of Christians that I was around. Had I been around a lot of other Christians that were like, well, you have a lot of ways to come, or you have a lot of things to do before you can come to God. They were just like, come as you are. So you got the idols, come on to church, come join us, come have fun. So I would go to my Bible for a piece of scripture and get some food out of the Bible, get a piece that would calm me, that would bring a sense of clarity to my day, and then I'd come here and that same piece of scripture would be here. And people said, oh yeah, that's confirmation. I'm like, well, that's kind of a miracle, I think. How does that happen? It doesn't happen except through God. In 2010, I went away to Haiti, and I had not read the Bible, but I felt pulled as if by a bungee cord from my heart to Haiti. So we were on the plane to Haiti, in Haiti, from Port-au-Prince, going over to the Jeremy, the small little airfield, and we had just had to leave all of our luggage and just grab whatever we can and hop on the plane, and I had my Bible with me, and I hadn't read my Bible yet. And yet here I was, I was a missionary on a plane, and oh no, I should have read the Bible by now. But I opened up the Bible, and I hit 1 Colossians 1:17, and it said, "He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. And he is the head of the body of the church. He is the beginning and the firstborn from among the dead, so that in everything he might have the supremacy." So what was neat about that was, we were going, and we had all these things that we were going to be bringing. And in the end, we couldn't end up bringing any of these special little gifts or toys or trinkets or backpacks. We just ended up traveling there with just ourselves. And I thought, well, there's got to be a reason why it's just us. And I opened up to that passage, and it was like, oh yeah, because he's there first. He's going before us. He is the only thing that we're really bringing. All these other things are going to, go away and melt away and disintegrate. It's just him that we're here to share. And so that was really amazing. That was in 2010, September 2010. Hi, my name is Kitara Byerly, and I'm an unlikely disciple.